Hello YouTube, this is a instructional video on how I mounted my Sony Action Cam HDR AS30V to my motorcycle helmet with a microphone input so I can do some video logging. This is also a video about how cats love to get into things. Anyway, starting off, the Sony Action Cam HDR AS30V. No matter how many YouTube videos I watched before I got this, I am still surprised at how small this thing is. It is really pretty small. The form factor is great, especially on a motorcycle. On the side of the helmet, all you see is this little bit here. With things like the GoPro, you'd have basically this thing either sitting on top of the helmet or on your chest somewhere or mounted to your motorcycle. I like this. It looks a little bit sleeker. Of course, you know, wind resistance isn't a problem for me. I drive a small motorcycle that's very, very old. But it does look a little bit lower profile, and that's kind of important. I don't want people to be watching me drive around on my motorcycle and thinking, wow, this guy is videotaping stuff for some reason, to show the world that he has something to say while he's riding his motorcycle. No, I don't want people to necessarily notice it. So it works. It has a nice, slim, low-profile design. Another really nice feature is that it has an external microphone jack right on the bottom here. No adapter required. Also the necessary USB, HDMI, and this actual Sony accessory port that allows you to actually put a screen on the outside of this if you really, really want to. I think that's like $80. I decided, of course, not to. It's Wi-Fi, which means that you can hook it up to your phone to see what you're shooting, control everything from your phone, pretty much, which is really, really great. It allows, I carry my phone everywhere, and it's nice because I don't have to worry about screens and stuff on this little camera thing, and it just works really well. This unit has, the AS30V has a GPS inside it, so you can show your speed as you are videotaping. I haven't used it yet because I haven't used this for actually videotaping anything while I'm riding yet, apart from a small test. The thing that I've used this the most for is in my teaching education program. I have had to submit some videos of me actually teaching, and it works great. The 170-degree wide angle capture feature allows me to show the entire classroom pretty much from the back, and this little external microphone jack allows me to hook up a wireless microphone if I need to. That's not the way I did it when I was teaching. I just put my phone in my front pocket and synced up, recorded my voice and synced up the video, but it worked really, really well. Battery life is good. It's easy to change the battery on this thing. You just flip up the back case. The battery is right there. The memory stick is right there. What I've seen, I don't have one, but on the AS15 and the AS10, this little SD slot was a little bit tricky. This one has been upgraded so that it works really, really well. Yeah, this is a nice little camera, and I still can't believe how small it is. Anyway, to the important bits. This is the case that comes with the HDR AS30V. It is a little bit less robust than the case that comes with the AS10 and the AS15. It does work for waterproofing. I've had this thing at the bottom of a pool. It keeps the water out great. Not so great for actual video capture, as this rounded lens here prevents the camera from focusing on really anything. So I knew that when I first saw that and I realized what I would need to do to get actually this to work underwater, I decided, okay, I'm going to buy the bigger, more robust case for when I actually have this thing out in the elements and for videotaping underwater. So I thought, okay, this is the case that I want to use to modify to use for vlogging, because it is both less robust and not the one that I'm going to be using. I had to figure out, okay, this case is different. Most of the people that are on YouTube that have shown how to hook up a microphone through this case use the AS10 or the AS15 case. That design allows you to drill a hole right through the bottom of the case. Looky, look, I did that here with this one just to try it out. It doesn't work. In this case, this clip here is a little bit different. It's mounted slightly further back, which means that where this little bit here that hangs down connects to the bit above it, there is a metal pin right there. You can kind of see that little bit of metal right there at the end of my finger. That directly interferes with where this, where the jack would need to go in the bottom here to go through and connect with the bottom of this camera here. So trust me, it does not work. Instead, what I had to do was have the jack go in the bottom and exit out the side, which means that I needed a very, very low profile 90-degree audio jack to make that work, which is exactly what I did. I searched around for 90-degree 3.5 millimeter male audio jack, and I found something that looked like this online. I ordered this from Vetco Electronics, part numbers to be shown in the video. And it comes with the metal bit here, the actual jack, and a plastic case here. It actually comes with a wire protector that goes off the back, and this case just snaps off, and you can put that in. That wire protector is pretty useless with this because the wire is so thin. It's not much better than just having it like this. So what I did was I took some old headphone wire from headphones that didn't work anymore, soldered them onto this little metal bit here. When you get this piece, this part that clamps into the wire is of course sticking up, and the bit here that connects to the bottom part of this jack, and I'm losing my mind, I cannot remember if this is the ground or the actual signal. This is actually sticking up quite a bit. What you have to do when you get this is you actually have to bend it over and then solder it so it's pretty much flat against the top of this thing. The nice thing is that there's enough insulation on the bottom part of this under where I have soldered that it allows you to bend that jack completely over without having it connect with anything. If I had to do it again, I would not use headphone wire because it's insulated on the outside, and then the two wires on the inside are insulated with an adhesive type of coating that you have to get off. That takes a little bit of work, and soldering is just really, really difficult on such small parts. I ordered a bunch of these pieces so that I would be able to make mistakes, and I certainly did. Anyway, to do this, what I did was there's a soldering point here for the lower piece, the lower part of the jack, and a soldering point here, which is just on the body of the jack. I actually had the wire coming in from this direction and did my soldering at that point first and then that point second. It was a lot easier to get to because I didn't have to worry about this bit in the way. Then I just wrapped the wire around the top of this jack and then down out the back under this wire clamp. After I was finished with that, I put a dollop of epoxy on the top. This has sealed it completely. It's pretty durable, and it also means that when I move this thing around, hopefully it will do a good job of protecting it. The most important part, however, is that this is very, very slim. From where the jack actually sits when it's inserted into the camera, the bottom here to the top part here is very thin, and it's thin enough to fit under the camera inside the case. And I will show you that right now. Normally I would be videotaping videos with the camera, so this one-handed nonsense hopefully will not happen a whole lot more. Here it is going into the case. I had to put a big hole right in the side here to allow the jack to actually be put through the case so I can remove it if I have to. But look at that. You can see the jack right there. It fits underneath the camera in the case, slides in and out just fine. Something to be careful of, if it is a tight fit, it is very hard to get the camera out because there's nothing to grab onto except for the lens. So I found that out the hard way. The first time I soldered this together, it was just slightly too thick and caused this thing to bind up. So this works just great. I got it coming out the side of the camera casing. The camera right now is held onto the helmet with tape. Later today I'll go to Radio Shack and get some of their off-branded 3M dual lock Velcro to use. Velcro isn't the right word, but dual lock Velcro-like stuff to use to mount this to my helmet. Like I said, this case is not going to be used for anything other than video logging, so I don't really mind if I stick some Velcro to it. And the helmet, well, it's a helmet, and a little bit of Velcro isn't going to make it look that bad. Anyway, on the other end of this microphone jack wire, I have another male 90-degree input, and here's what I did. On the outside of the helmet, you can see here that I have a panel mount non-conductive female jack. Put a hole through the outside of the helmet through this soft bit of plastic here. This doesn't do a whole lot of support. It just holds in the bottom of the padding on the inside, so I didn't feel too bad about drilling through it. If I crash and die because of this little jack, well, I guess I will probably tell you not to do it. But until that point, it seems to not affect the integrity of the helmet. On the inside, I have connected to this jack a wire running right underneath here to the microphone that's right underneath the front there. The microphone that I used, you can see I have a piece of fabric under there, and if I move it in the light just right, you might be able to see that it is attached with 2 pieces of electrical tape. It seems to be holding well. If it doesn't hold up and falls out, I'll let you know, but it seems to be working. The microphone that I used was a microphone from an old hands-free headset that came with an old set of our flip phones back in 2005 or 2006. They have the really, really small jacks that don't fit with any phone anymore, so I didn't feel bad about hacking them apart and trying to use them. In fact, what they look like is this. At the very end here, you can see a little felt-covered microphone. It has 2 outputs. Again, a very, very delicate piece of electronics that takes some skill to solder, something that I really don't have a whole lot of, but I did manage to get it to work all right after some practice. This is one that I practiced on and didn't use. This is probably would have been a better wire choice. It's a little bit more durable. Anyway, and also it doesn't have coating on these pieces of wire, so I wouldn't have had to sand them off, but you live and you learn. If I do it again, I'll use something like this. The nice part about having, about using one of these is you don't feel too bad about, pulling it apart and modifying it and soldering it and potentially messing it up, because I had a couple of them and they were, to me, free. The other nice thing is they usually come with a bit of plastic that looks like this that goes over the microphone. The microphone sits in this little groove here. You can snap it together, fill it up with a little bit of epoxy, and then this little thing can be taped on the inside of your helmet, and you don't feel too bad about it. If I would have bought a $20 or $30 microphone online, I would have felt kind of bad about, cutting the wires apart, potentially screwing it up, and ending up with something that didn't work. So for this, if it worked, I thought it was a win. And in fact, it does. It's surprisingly good sound quality. I tested it out last night, just sitting in my house, and with the lid on the helmet open, you can hear me just fine. With the lid on the helmet closed, you can hear me just fine. The little piece of fabric prevents it from sounding really, really windy when I breathe. And I mean, the sound quality is good enough. It captures my voice. You can hear what I'm saying without having to listen too hard. And the best part about it was that this was very, very cheap. Okay, so I will post the parts that I got from Vetco, the male and female jacks. If you are going to do this mod, I suggest you do it and you buy a couple of them if you're not very good at soldering. Buy a couple of them anyway, because you might want to do this again and modify your design to make it a little bit more robust. I certainly will probably do that. Yeah, I'll see if it works this afternoon after I get some of that dual lock and really, really put this thing on the helmet, and we'll see how it goes.